You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Asking me lovingly to come and follow you.
Good morning. This is Dare to Love show that shows every first Thursday of the month. I am Sister Lovina. I'm with the Franciscan Sisters of the Sacred Heart and the coordinator of Religious Vocation Ministries in the Office for Religious of the Archdiocese of Chicago. I also serve as the coordinator of CAVA, which is the Chicago Archdiocesan Vocation Association. And with me here in the studio is Mr. Michael May, and also helping us is Mr. Brian Brock. They're always helping me out, and we're sharing this morning with our special guest, Brother John Eustace, who is a Viatorian from the community of the clerics of the Viatorians, Clerics of St. Viator, CSV. Good morning, Brother John. And
good morning, Sister Lavina.
How are you doing? Where are you? Are you in Bourbonnais? Are you around the Chicago area right now?
That's always a good question. Yes, I am doing well. And as a Viatorian, viator, literally meaning in Latin, on the way or journeyer, you never know where I might be. But today I am in Bourbonnais, Illinois, which is an hour south of downtown Chicago. Used to be the summertime home of the Bears.
Okay. And how was your Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was great. I actually got to spend it with some cousins in downstate Illinois, in Ottawa. So it was great to reconnect with family. How was yours?
I was great. I was invited to two events. I have a cousin here in the Chicago area, so that was a really neat time with family. And then with my sisters in New Lenox near Frankfort, Illinois, where my mother houses. We have a convent in New Lenox, and so we have a regional gathering there. And I didn't have to do anything with the turkey or the main dish. I only had to bring a vegetable. So I got
eat the turkey, of course.
Yes, I got the guest pass this year, which is great.
Score.
Right. I only had to bring myself and my hungry tummy. But it's such a great time around this time, especially with people needing some connection in person, which is so different from during the COVID years when you had to do Zoom and eat kind of virtually, with each other, but, in quarantine. So this is different. So I would like to, I think it's been maybe 2 years or at least a year and a half or maybe longer than that since I've had you and another Viatorian brother with you. And so this is in a way kind of a time to get to know you. So I am just going to ask you a few questions. So first of all, I know you are part of the Chicago Archdiocesan Vocation Association and part of the board, the advisory board. So, and you are a brother in your community. However, you are also a student on the ordination track. So can you tell me a little bit more about, like how you discern that and what are you looking into in your future? And of course, some of the things that you're working on right now, maybe events that are going on in your life at this point.
Yeah, so in 2001, I discerned to join the Viatorians, or the Clerics of St. Viator, from Las Vegas, Nevada, and moved to Chicago and spent a few years in early formation. Some of that was at our high school as an intern in campus ministry in Arlington Heights, Illinois. Some of that was working in Belize, Central America, in our parish there as a coordinator of youth ministry. And then over the years, I've served as a campus minister at our high school. I've served as a youth and young adult minister here at our parish in Bourbonnais. And then most recently, I served as vice president of St. Viator High School in Arlington Heights. All the while, sprinkled throughout that, again, I'm Viatorian, so I'm constantly moving all the time. Sprinkled throughout that, I have also been vocation director for my province, consistently now for the past 5.5 years. But I would say of all of the experiences I've had as a religious brother, and Viatorians, we have both brothers and priests. We don't look at it as there's a priesthood track and a brother track. We look at it as there's a Viatorian track. And then at certain times, some of our men might feel called or invited by God to be able to be people who minister the sacraments. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I felt that it was starting to be time for me to consider that. So I was already 12 years in vows at that point. So I'm kind of your non-traditional seminarian at this point. In fact, I'm still vocation director while being a seminarian. So it's bittersweet because the life of a brother is very unique. It's a very unique call. It's not an ordained life. We don't do the sacraments, but now I'm in the transition to becoming a ordained minister in the Catholic Church. And so for the Viatorians, it's a shift. We don't view each other differently among one another, but publicly it's going to be a different identity in some ways. I'll go from brother to father eventually. So I'm kind of going through a transition, trying to see how that will sit with me. I'm sure it'll be fine, but identity changes over time. So
on the way,
exactly. But I do feel like it was through ministries mainly, and young people, youth ministry especially, where people were asking me, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? And then with a consistent sort of way of prayer, daily prayer, attention to my own spirituality, through that, deep down somewhere in there, I felt a sense of, yeah, I should be doing this. And I fought God on it for quite a while, and now I just gave up.
And that's the thing is, I think that discernment, like that phrase, I like that, on the way. As a Franciscan, our phrase, I think, is that continual conversion. Although the word conversion seems to be like, what? Aren't you a Catholic already? Why do you have to convert? And all that. But it's the same thing, is that we are in the process. It's always that journey that keeps on. We follow our path, and the path kind of provides that wisdom and the whisperings of the Holy Spirit in our hearts. And yes, we struggle because when we do decide to follow that path, there is a consequence, meaning we have to let go of some of the things that we have been through. Not that they were worse and this path is better. It's just a different path that you can decide to go through. Thank you for that sharing. And hopefully, in terms of discernment, since you're a vocation minister who helps others, and at this point, we really do invite, we always say young people, but you know what? Young and old, we're all in discernment, aren't we? And just because you're a brother now, you're a religious, you're a consecrated man at this point in the world, doesn't mean that your discernment has ended. Every day we have to say yes. So being a student right now, how do you balance your life? What does your ordinary day look like?
Well, I want to say thank God for Google, because Google Calendar keeps me very organized. They have this thing where you can sync with your phone, your computer, and everything else. So I call it trusting my past self and taking care of my future self by putting things on the calendar, deadlines and all of that kind of stuff. So a week for me is a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of attending classes too. So I schedule that in there. And then around that, I schedule in the vocation ministry and my community life.
And so in your community, are you in a local community or mission at this point in Bourbonnais?
Yes, I'm at Maternity of the Blessed Virgin Mary Parish. The Viatorians have been here since 1865.
Wow.
In fact, at one time, this was part of the Archdiocese of Chicago. So back then it was. So our community came to the United States from Canada back then. So we've been part of the Archdiocese for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I live with two other men, Father Jason Nesbitt, who's the pastor, and Father Moses Mesh, who's the associate pastor. And so their mission is serving this local parish community, and I just get to go along for the ride. So it's great.
And you said that, was it a couple of weeks ago or maybe 3 weeks ago, that it's kind of hard to imagine. I know this past Sunday was the first Sunday of Advent. We are on the first week of Advent. And then before that was, like Thanksgiving. But I know before that you also had that event. And I know you thank you for inviting Kava, Vocations Kava, even though it's not technically part of Chicago. I always say Kava and beyond, because religious communities, we're out there, and wherever we are active, it might be a little bit outside of our territory, but we do serve, and we like to witness. We want to witness the presence of consecrated men and women. When do you remember which weekend that was?
For here in Bourbonnais, it's going to come up in 2 weekends on December 10th and 11th.
Oh, it's still coming up. Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of instead of a come and see, we're inviting young people to consider religious life. I'm inviting religious to come to the parish at the different masses. So it's almost like come and be present to the people in the parish. So we'll see how many show up. We're going to have at least a few religious communities here, basically to show the parishioners that, hey, this is a viable lifestyle. This is something that people actually live. Real people like Sister Lavina and me and others actually live this and actually are happy. And we want to share that with the regular everyday parishioner so they see it. Because a lot of times, many people who attend parishes aren't aware. Maybe they have a Hollywood idea of what a brother, well, nobody knows what a brother is, but a sister or a priest is. And if we can bring it to them and let them interact, or at least see people who are in this lifestyle, then I think we're starting to do our job to say, hey, maybe there are people, maybe you or maybe somebody in your life might be invited by God to this kind of life.
That's right. In person. So let's take a short break. And when we come back, we'll continue with that invitation for Maternity BVM. And we'll also talk about a recent event with St. Hubert's over in Hoffman Estates. We'll be back.
A stranger and a pilgrim in this world. Sometimes I wonder what this journey will bring, and you guide me faithfully to find a home in you. Here I am. Did I hear you call my name? Here I am, as you will.
Catholic Charities on Friday, December 2nd for the 33rd Annual Spirit of St. Nicholas Ball at the Chicago Hilton. The Spirit of St. Nicholas Ball is one of the most elegant galas of the holiday season in Chicago, and proceeds provide critical funding for our programs and services into the new year. Families, friends, and work colleagues make a tradition out of gathering at this extraordinary black tie event to celebrate the Christmas season. Enjoy an opening reception, gourmet meal, and live entertainment courtesy of the Ken Arlen Orchestra, all in support of Catholic Charities. Don't miss this special night for a great cause on Friday, December 2nd. To purchase tickets for the Spirit of St. Nicholas Ball, visit CatholicCharities.net/events or call 312-948-6963. That's 312-948-6963.
People always say, how can you spend your day with 3-year-olds? Seeing the changes that they go through and just the journey and how they grow, this is a very rewarding job. Even though at the end of the day, we're not the highest paid people on earth. And when I have a parent contact me and say, my child loves school, that to me, I'm setting that foundation for their love of learning. Because really, you are changing lives, you are molding lives.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Catholic Charities' 75th Annual Celebration of Giving is underway in support of those who are struggling to make ends meet every day. Individuals, families, colleagues, neighbors, parishioners, and friends purchase thousands of gifts and basic necessities to ensure Catholic Charities' clients and their families have a joyful Christmas morning. There are many ways to get involved, including online wish lists that make giving easier than ever before. If you can join us in this special Chicago Christmas tradition as volunteers and donors, please email us at cog@catholiccharities.net. That's cog@catholiccharities.net. Or call 312-655-7401 in Cook County and 847-782-4210 in Lake County. Thank you for helping us spread Christmas cheer this year throughout Cook and Lake counties.
Here I am, I come to follow you.
My heart sings of the love that I found in you.
A love that dwells in all of your creation.
Sometimes I wonder.
And we are back to Dare to Love show. This is Sister Lavina Pamet, your host, and with Brother John Eustace, CSV, who's a Viatorian, our guest for today. And we were talking about the invitation to this. Is it December 10 that weekend, Brother John? Okay.
December 10th and 11th at the Masses, yes.
Okay, so for those who are going to be watching this on YouTube and also those who are listening, can you provide some information about your parish? Not that we're going to probably flash mob your parish, but hopefully you have enough parking. So go ahead, Brother John.
Yeah, Maternity of the Blessed Virgin Mary Parish. It's situated in Bourbonnais, Illinois, part of the Diocese of Joliet. On December 10th and 11th at the 4:30, 7:30, 9 o'clock, and 11 a.m. Mass. There's going to be a come and be, so to speak, with religious men and women from all over the area coming and being present to the parish here. And a special way, the 11 o'clock Mass is a youth-planned liturgy. So every month, the youth get together and actually contribute to a lot of what happens at the Mass. So we kind of made it line up with that so then young people could also see and meet and talk with the religious.
Now, I have to mention that Brother John is also part of the Vocations Cava, not just part of the board, but also what we call the Public Outreach Committee. And what it is we're doing some marketing projects and ways to be visible to parishes. So, Taste of St. Hubert's. I was going to try to have Father Mike Shershell, who is the pastor at St. Hubert's, to join us, but he, being the pastor, is very busy. However, we all pulled it off. We really credit St. Hubert's and Father Mike Shershell at the helm. And of course, with the help of the committee, Brother John, in getting this a taste of St. Hubert's. And I missed it all because I was somewhere else. It was a different weekend, November 12, 13, because it's towards the end of also the National Vocations Awareness Week. So tell us all about it, Brother John. Take it away.
Well, Sister Lavina, it's a shame you weren't there because there was a lot of good food. Oh my goodness. St. Hubert's has such a diverse population. They had people literally from all over the world. Hoffman Estates in Schaumburg is a very diverse area of the Archdiocese of Chicago. And within St. Hubert Parish, it's very apparent. The Mass on the Saturday evening, there was a procession of people with flags from the various countries that were there, and I want to say there were at least a dozen different flags. But then after the Mass, obviously the Mass was the most important part. But the food afterwards, oh my goodness, it really was a taste from around the world, around different cultures, whether it was Polish or Filipino or German or your typical American fare too.
Now I know why you couldn't send me pictures. You were too busy eating and sampling.
I was, yes. No, but one of the great things is this is the first time St. Hubert's, from what Father Mike was telling me, was the first time since the pandemic that they've been able to come together as a parish. And it was so packed. And he informed me, he says, yeah, this isn't as packed as it normally would be. I can't imagine what it would have been. Right. But it was just people from all walks of life. Including some of my former students from St. Viator High School were there. One of them was the cross bearer. But it was a chance for a lot of us, the Alexian brothers, the sisters, or the congregation of St. Joseph, the Viatorians, and several other communities were present at this Mass. We were
Sister Maria Brizuela was there too, right? She said that she was a flag bearer or something.
Yes, she was. I think she had the Filipino flag.
That's why I tried to ask her for pictures, and she said, "Sorry, I was carrying a flag."
Yeah, we were really busy. So sometimes, maybe that's the issue with us religious is we're constantly doing things. We don't have time to take selfies. I don't know. So people don't know about us, but we do exist. No, but it was great because then we were all able to interact with the people. Father Mike actually at the end of the Mass introduced us all and encouraged the whole parish, similar to what I was saying, to say, hey, these people are living this life and these people want to invite you into this. And perhaps you have a call from God to be a part of this too. So it was just an amazing experience. After the 6 p.m. Mass on Sunday, there was two sisters and then three of us Viatorians that were able to be there for the 8th grade or 7th and 8th grade confirmation class. Mm-hmm. And so in the church, we were able to split this group of about 80 students up into 4 groups and circle around and listen to our vocation stories and have some dialogue. And it was a lot of fun. They got stickers. They got swag from NRVC as well. They got some pens, and they got to hear unique versions of our vocation stories. There was, obviously, I was there. Brother Peter is from Arlington Heights. Brother Giovanni is from Colombia, and the two sisters, one was Filipino and one was from Colombia as well. So they got a real taste of the universality of the church, and I think the joy that comes with being a consecrated person.
That's great. And speaking of NRVC, so we deal every day with the alphabet soup. And so the NRVC is the National Religious Vocation Association. And actually, both you and I were at the convocation in Spokane the first weekend of November. And that's what we were all meeting about, all the members of the NRVC who are involved in vocation ministry. Also, you were speaking of swag. Well, we also got some swag from NRVC, but more than that, related to the kind of parish activities and events that we're planning and just kind of went through that you experienced that I missed. It's so important to talk about the studies. And what if there's anything that you can say in maybe a couple of sentences, what is your takeaway from the NRVC weekend, Brother John?
Yeah, the church is universal for one. It's people from all walks of life are part of this thing that we call the Catholic Church. And then for those who are considering religious vocations, there's so many factors that go into it. There's the factor of age. There's the factor of culture that you come from. And for example, I study at Catholic Theological Union, and this is after the vocation part, after vocation ministry, but these are people who've been in their communities for a while. There are something like 35 different countries represented in the student body at Catholic Theological Union in Chicago, which is religious men and women and lay people as well. But part of the study that the Center for the Apostolate, I forget, CARA, more alphabet soup, but there's a study that has gone out there over the past few years that identify who's thinking about religious life, when are young people thinking about it, and when do they actually commit to it, because people do. And one of the recent studies has pointed to the fact that usually, on average, those who are who have committed to religious life now, the average time that they first thought about it was late high school, like 16, 17 years old.
Imagine that.
But the first time, by the time they took vows, the average was somewhere around 25, 26, 27 years old. Mm-hmm. So there's 10 years from the first time somebody thinks about it or has the idea come to them or are invited to think about it, to when they actually make a move. So that implies that the role of vocation ministry, not only the vocation director, but everybody who surrounds the individual who might be thinking about this, has to walk with them, has to accompany them through late high school, through college, through the beginning of their career, to be able to provide a nurturing environment for a young person who might be invited by God to finally say yes, because ultimately it is up to the young person, or the not so young, but the person who is discerning to be the one to say yes. So this is our blessing, but this is also our challenge as vocation ministers, is to call people in the parishes, call people who are parents of students in the Catholic schools and public schools for that matter, that you are part of this vocation ministry. You are essential to help young people understand God's invitation in their lives. I mean, if some young person is saying, hey, I think I want to be an engineer or I want to be a teacher, don't we support them? Don't we say, hey, go do internships? Hey, go study this in college? Why aren't we doing the same thing for those considering becoming a sister, a brother, a deacon, or a priest?
Exactly. And if parents, I would challenge parents and relatives and friends, it's not all about money. It's really about happiness. Because what can money buy you? It's really, if you ask people, what are you going to do with your money, besides the basic, earning a living, it's really happiness. And it's beyond happiness, it's joy. And so we invite everyone to really consider making it possible for young people especially, and for others, even older people who might be thinking and who are called. We are here as your resource. And you can call me, Sister Lavina. You can go to our website, vocationscaba.org. Brother John, we are at the end of our show, but thank you so much for being here. And you take care, and, best wishes, and you're being a seminarian while wearing all these other hats. God bless everybody. And on YouTube, you will see all the links that could help you with discernment or encouraging someone to discern. God bless. Goodbye.